A former restaurant employee is facing multiple charges for putting his genitals into food items and possessing child pornography. 28-year-old Othello Holmes was arrested after the manager of Culture showed deputies videos of Holmes committing the acts. Fox 26's Jade Fleury is live outside the Harris County Criminal Justice Center with more.
Tom, it's a very sick and disturbing story. Othello Holmes is facing 5 counts of possession of child pornography. And this comes after the manager of a restaurant called Culture showed police videos of Holmes sticking his penis in a jar of jelly.
That Houston streets are safer tonight because we took a pedophile off the street.
Those words coming from restaurant owner Marcus Davis after his former employee was caught on camera sticking his genitals in jelly.
And what he was doing on the video was placing his genitals in a plastic jar in the kitchen, and he was a cook.
The former restaurant employee, 28-year-old Othello Holmes. According to court records, Holmes confessed to the crime and told investigators he had frequent urges.
I can tell y'all, this individual is a predator.
The incident leading investigators to search his phone, where they found more than 100 images and videos of child porn.
We found child pornography, and we are fearful that he potentially may have, and at some point, molested young children.
Senior political analyst Chris Tritico says while the food contamination is a disturbing incident, it's the least of Holmes' legal worries.
Now that they've got all of this child pornography on his phone, I doubt he'll even be charged with the food issue. He's facing multiple life sentences because of the child pornography that they've now found on the phone.
Precinct 1 thanking the restaurant for reporting the incident. Now, Holmes' bond is set at $500,000, and Davis tells us that Culture did shut down all operations once they found out about Holmes' actions, and no customers were served food that day. Reporting from downtown Houston, Jade Fleury, Fox 26 News.
We did our job. We took the pedophile off the street. We made the hospitality industry in Houston safer because, as I mentioned, this was not a one-off in terms of where he worked in the city of Houston. And we're glad to say that we did our part.
Culture owner Marcus Davis spoke exclusively with Fox 26's Isaiah Carey about the restaurant's role in Holmes' arrest. You can watch the whole segment from the show on Fox Local. You can download the app for your smart TV and start watching all of our exclusive content for free.
I made cinnamon rolls out of my yeast infection, and I have to say, they turned out pretty damn good. These are actually what I gave my husband for Valentine's Day. It's cinnamon rolls made from not only the yeast for my yeast infection, but also my breast milk. So it's like really natural. And when he tried it, he noticed immediately that they tasted a little different than they normally do when I make him cinnamon rolls. And he was like, "What did you do differently? It's really good." And I said, actually, it was my yeast infection and breast milk, you know? One thing I will say is they taste like almost like sourdough. Like they're a little more sour than like a normal cinnamon roll would be. And I think that's due to it being like yeast from my body. But overall, I mean, they're good. He liked them. This is why you should not make cinnamon rolls or any baked goods out of your yeast infection. I just want to do some damage control because I know I came on here and said I made cinnamon rolls out of my yeast infection and they turned out really good, and they did. They tasted really good, but we consumed them, and 2 days later these white spots start popping up on mine and my husband's tongue, and I'm Googling what that means, and it says it's oral thrush, which is essentially a yeast infection for your mouth, and the reason we have it is because we consumed my yeast infection. So what I thought was a very special Valentine's gift, truly a pastry made with love from things that came from my body, turned out to be the president of oral thrush. And it's not fun having it. It's not the most comfortable thing to live with. It's kind of painful, and I just feel so bad for giving it to my husband. And I'm thinking I need to make it up to him in some way.
I put my period blood in my boyfriend's spaghetti sauce.
That's crazy. It is crazy.
Basically, in my family, believing in folklore and old wives' tales is pretty common.
Okay.
One story is that if a guy consumes your menstrual fluid, he'll be super devoted to you forever.
You love potioned him with the spaghetti?
Long story short, I started dating my current boyfriend a little over a year ago. Anyway, one night I offered to cook for him at my apartment. I don't know what I was even thinking, but I decided to just add a little blood to the sauce. I don't want to get too graphic, so I'll spare you the details of how I went about it. That's the most important part to me.
Like, I need to know how much.
That's what I mean. This is the important part.
I have so many questions.
When he came over, he was none the wiser. Of course, he ate the pasta, and I pretended I was too ill to eat heavy food. Just opted to pick at the salad.
Coward.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking back, I am horrified that this happened, and even more horrified that I allowed him to eat the food. I'm sure he had no idea, and I've never mentioned it to this day.
Cynthia was a teacher in Louisiana while her husband Dennis was a sheriff's deputy. The school teacher has admitted to lacing cupcakes with her husband's sperm, which she then fed to her students. There is a current lawsuit which alleges that Cynthia Perkins videotaped Dennis supplying semen that was used to make cupcakes that were later served to children. They were arrested in October 2019, and both were also charged with 60 counts of producing pornography involving a child under 13. They also faced 2 counts of first-degree rape, while Dennis was also charged with 2 counts of video voyeurism, 2 counts of obscenity and obstruction of justice. Cynthia stepped down from her teaching position after the arrest, filed for divorce, and claimed Dennis had manipulated her to carry out the crimes. Cynthia was sentenced to 41 years in prison after testifying against her now ex-husband, and Dennis was sentenced to 100 years.
We find the details of this next story really disturbing here. A former teacher out of Livingston Parish is being investigated for bringing baked goods to a school that were contaminated with bodily fluids. This is according to our partners at WBRZ. They also say that this investigation is connected to a case involving sex with children, and it involves the 2 people on your screen right now. Cynthia Perkins was arrested nearly 2 weeks ago with her husband, Dennis Perkins, who, by the way, is a Livingston Parish Sheriff's deputy. The 2 were picked up for child pornography, rape, and obscenity. Parents were told about this investigation into the baked goods just last week, and both Cynthia and Dennis have lost their jobs since those arrests.
Our other top story tonight, a now former employee at Comerica Park accused of spitting on a customer's pizza faced a judge today.
20-year-old Jalen Juwan Curley facing 2 counts of food law violations. Larry Spruill was in the courtroom as Curley was arraigned and shows us now what's next in the case. Larry?
The video of a coworker spitting in food here at Comerica Park has made its rounds on social media. Since then, he has been fired, arrested, and appeared in court today. He is now facing some serious charges. Tuesday morning, 20-year-old Jalen Juwan Curley faced a judge for the first time since he was arrested for spitting on a customer's pizza at a Little Caesar restaurant here inside Comerica Park. The entire thing was recorded on video by another coworker on Friday. That video went viral on social media. Your reaction when you heard that an employee spit in food here at Comerica Park?
Yeah, that's not really like something you should do.
Curley was very quiet inside the courtroom Tuesday as the judge read off the charges he's now facing. Curley is charged with 1 count of food law violations, which is a 4-year felony, and another count of food law violations. That one is a 90-day misdemeanor.
A medical evaluation for infectious diseases with a focus on hepatitis.
Plus, he will have to complete a mandatory test for hepatitis A and any other diseases. I reached out to the Detroit Health Department. A spokesperson sent me this statement. The Detroit Health Department is working with Delaware North, the food service vendor for Comerica Park, to ensure they are following the Michigan food law and code, including operations and training protocols. This included a recommendation to the 36th District Court that the employee undergo a medical evaluation. The Detroit Health Department's food safety team will continue to closely monitor the establishment and follow up with regular food safety inspections. And a judge did grant him a $100,000 bond this morning with 10%. We're live at Comerica Park tonight. Larry Spruill, Local 4.
Larry, not only wondering about what comes next in the case, but also what's the latest with the employee who recorded the video in the first place?
Well, Devin, the next step is that suspect will be back in court on October 3rd. As for that other employee who recorded that video, the spokesperson tells me that he is now suspended upon investigation. Meanwhile, that I talked to that employee, he tells me a whole different story. he tells me he was fired.
Wow. All right, Larry. Kim.
See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.